everyone, welcome back to Daily Easy English Talk. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. Thanks for joining us.
You know, we've all been there. Someone shares something cool, something they're really excited about.
Yeah, you want to show you're listening, that you get it.
Exactly. But sometimes that automatic response, that's interesting, just, well, it doesn't always hit the mark, does it?
No. It can feel a bit passive. Like, okay, technically it is interesting, sure, but it doesn't always scream, I'm genuinely curious, or wow.
Right. It can sort of feel like a conversation stopper almost instead of an invitation.
Yeah, or placeholder.
So, okay, our mission for this deep dive, let's explore some other ways to respond. Phrases that feel, warmer, more engaged.
Things that really show you're tuned in.
Yeah, simple ways to genuinely express curiosity or excitement. Think of them like little conversation boosters.
Absolutely. It's about making that person feel truly heard. And like you want them to keep going. Having a few options ready can really shift the whole vibe.
Okay, let's dig into a few. So sometimes you just need something simple, right? Just to show you're curious, maybe a little surprised, nothing too dramatic. What works there?
Oh, a great one. Really simple. Is just...
Oh, really?
It's so conversational, sounds natural, and it instantly signals, okay, I heard that. Tell me a bit more.
Right. Like say someone just casually says, oh yeah, I lived in Iceland for a year.
Okay.
Instead of that flat, that's interesting, hitting them with a warm, oh really? It opens things up, doesn't it?
Totally. It basically asks them to elaborate without you having to formally ask, tell me more. They'll likely jump in with, yeah, it was amazing or whatever.
It validates their share, makes them want to continue. Okay, good one.
Yeah.
Now, what about moving up a level, like from mild curiosity to something that genuinely stops you in your tracks? You're truly amazed or really intrigued.
Ah, okay. For that, I think that's fascinating. It's personal.
Fascinating. Yeah, that feels stronger.
It really elevates it. You use this when, the topic itself has this real depth or complexity that grabs you.
Okay, picture this. Someone tells you, maybe at a party, I actually study ancient languages.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, responding with a sincere, wow, that's fascinating. It shows you're not just being polite, you're genuinely impressed by the substance of what they do.
Exactly. It acknowledges that what they shared isn't just like everyday info.
Yeah.
It has some real weight for you.
Okay, I like that. Now, sometimes the thing someone shares isn't necessarily fascinating in that deep intellectual way, but it's just, wow, surprising, exciting, especially, talking with friends.
Oh, for sure. For that kind of immediate, excited disbelief, you really can't beat no way.
Yes. No way. It's so casual, so full of energy. It shows you're right there with them in the moment. Fit example, right? Your friend goes, you will not believe who I bumped into. I met Beyonce.
Okay, wow.
What else can you say but wide-eyed, no way! It just captures that shared jolt, that whoa feeling.
It's pure informal validation. You're instantly sharing their buzz. Love that one.
Okay, building on that excitement, but maybe slightly less disbelief, more warm appreciation, something that shows genuine delight.
Yeah. How about, how cool is that?
Oh, I like that one too. How cool is that?
Yeah. It's really wonderful because it expresses admiration, enthusiasm, but in a really friendly, kind of approachable way.
So if someone says, my uncle builds robots in his garage,
Uh-oh.
responding with, how cool is that? It feels so much warmer, more personal than just, that's interesting. It shows you think their story is genuinely awesome. You're happy for them.
Yes. It points out the positive, the remarkable thing they told you, and it connects to your own sense of what's fun or impressive.
Nice. And, okay, one more. This one feels really honest. Maybe builds rapport because you're showing you actually learned something new.
Right. That'd be something like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. Simple, direct.
It's pretty powerful, actually. It shows a bit of vulnerability. You're admitting you just gained knowledge, and it makes you seem really open, curious.
Totally. Someone dropped a fun fact like, hey, did you know sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins?
Okay. Didn't know that.
Exactly. So your genuine response is, wow, I didn't know that. It proves you weren't just nodding along. You actually absorbed it. It registered. It's super friendly.
And it validates them as someone who shared something valuable. Makes them feel smart.
So yeah, just kind of stepping away from only saying, that's interesting, and having these other tools ready.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. No way.
How cool is that? Or, wow, I didn't know that. It really does change the feel of a conversation, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They become more dynamic, more of a real back and forth.
It shows you're present, you're engaged, you actually value what they took the time to share.
They're like little green lights. Say, yes, keep going, tell me more, genuine invitations.
So wrapping this up then, just having a few of these alternatives in your back pocket can make you feel, I think, more responsive, more connected.
And it makes the other person feel truly seen and appreciated. It builds that connection moment by moment.
And the approach we're following gives us several little example conversations, mini dialogues that really illustrate the nuances of picking the right phrase for the right moment. Seeing them used kind of cements their utility, I find.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, let's try performing some of these examples just as they're laid out. We can take turns being the speaker and the listener. How about that?
Great idea. Let's do it. Should I start with the first one? It's called casual chat.
Yeah, go for it. You be the speaker first. Roleplay dialogue 1.
My grandma still plays the piano every day.
No way. That's awesome.
Okay, end scene.
Haha. Okay, so see how no way fits there.
Yeah.
It's not just that grandma plays piano, which is nice. It's the everyday part.
Right, the dedication.
Yeah, that adds the element of surprise and, honestly, impressiveness, especially for a grandparent, maybe, that consistent dedication. A simple, that's interesting, just wouldn't have captured that specific feeling, that admiration for her commitment. It might have sounded dismissive even.
Yeah, could have.
But no way adds that genuine reaction.
Yeah.
Pleasant disbelief, high regard, feels much more personal.
It really conveys that her daily practice is seen as noteworthy and impressive, not just, a passive fact being stated, much more reactive.
Cool. Okay, how about the next example? This one's set at a museum. I'll say the fact this time. You react.
All right, lay the fact on me. Roleplay dialogue 2.
Did you know the Eiffel Tower can grow taller in summer?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is just a classic example for I didn't know that, isn't it? Because it's a specific, verifiable scientific fact.
Right. And probably new info for a lot of people.
Exactly. Likely new information. So my response directly addresses that, the fact that I've just learned something new. It's precise. I'm not saying it's fascinatingly complex, although maybe it is, or just mildly noteworthy. I'm stating this specific info is new knowledge for me.
And wow, gives it a bit of punch.
Yeah, the wow expresses that slight sense of awe or surprise at the fact itself, but the core meaning, the function of the phrase, is acknowledging that I've learned something new.
It's the perfect response when you get hit with a piece of trivia or a historical detail or a science fact you genuinely weren't aware of. Signals you're processing and absorbing.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the third dialogue example. This one's about talking about hobbies. You start this one. You have the hobby.
Okay, I can do that. Roleplay dialogue 3. I like to collect vintage postcards from different countries.
That's fascinating. Do you have any from Asia?
Okay, so here, that's fascinating. Feels like it works really well, right? Because collecting vintage postcards, especially from all over the world, that suggests the hobby with real potential depth.
Yeah, it's not just sticking stamps in a book, maybe.
Right. It could involve history, travel stories, maybe art history, the stories behind the cards themselves. It feels like it has layers of discovery, historical context. So my response, that's fascinating, indicates that I see that potential depth, and I'm genuinely intrigued by it, not just the surface activity of collecting.
Right. You're signaling curiosity about the history, the stories embedded in the hobby, which aligns perfectly with that idea of using fascinating for something that sparks deep interest due to its perceived complexity or layers.
And notice how it naturally leads to a question, too. Do you have any from Asia? That feels like a natural follow-up when you're fascinated.
Exactly. It signals you're not just mildly interested, but genuinely captivated by the layers and potential stories. It's a clear invitation for the other person to share more, maybe the intricate or interesting aspects of their collection. Shows you want to go deeper.
Cool. Okay, how about a scenario in class? I'll start this one off with the fact.
Okay, hit me with some knowledge. Roleplay dialogue 4.
The word emoji comes from Japanese.
Oh, really? That's so cool. So, in this instance, the origin of the word emoji, it's a neat fact, right? Definitely interesting. But maybe not, like profoundly complex or overwhelmingly surprising for everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fun fact.
Exactly, a fun fact. So really works perfectly here is that natural, simple acknowledgement. Okay, heard that information, registered it as something noteworthy, shows I'm listening.
Doesn't overdo it.
Right. And then pairing it with, that's so cool, adds that layer of positive emotional reaction. It shows I appreciate the neatness, maybe the cleverness of that specific etymological tidbit.
So it blends the simple acknowledgement of, oh, really?
Yeah.
With a bit of that enthusiastic appreciation we talked about with, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's like a little combo move.
Oh, yeah.
Acknowledges that's so cool. Adds the positive reaction to the specific detail itself. Very natural pairing.
Yeah, oh, really? Seems super versatile for those facts that are just interesting enough to note, but don't necessarily demand a huge reaction. Adding, that's so cool. Or something similar lets you tailor the positive aspect.
Exactly. Okay, last dialogue example. This one is on a trip. You lead off, you're describing the town.
Got it. Roleplay dialogue 5. This town only has 200 people, but 3 bookstores.
How cool is that? A bookworm's paradise. Okay.
This just feels like a perfect fit for how cool is that, doesn't it? Because it's such a delightful, slightly quirky, really unique characteristic of this tiny town.
Totally. 200 people, 3 bookstores.
Right. It sparks that immediate positive appreciation, that enthusiasm, especially if you're a book lover, like the follow-up comment suggests. It's not really about surprise that it's true or learning a complex fact. It's about pure, cheerful delight in something charming and unexpected. My response captures that specific positive feeling.
It's an exclamation of shared pleasure, admiration for something unique and really appealing.
These examples and practice scenarios, all drawn directly from the insights we've been exploring, they really do help illustrate the specific context where each phrase shines. They take these alternatives from just being, abstract concepts on a list to being practical tools you can actually visualize using immediately.
And by practicing with these kinds of scenarios, even just thinking them through like we're doing now, you start to kind of instinctively match the phrase to the emotional weight, the intellectual weight of the information being shared. It's about developing a more nuanced linguistic response system, really.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener. Why does doing this, deliberately expanding your vocabulary if you're showing interest, moving beyond that comfortable default, that's interesting? Why does this truly matter in your day-to-day conversations? The insights we've been discussing really touch on the impact, right?
Oh, it's absolutely vital because, as we've kind of hinted at throughout, constantly defaulting to just one phrase, even if you try to vary your intonation, it can still sound monotonous.
Yeah, predictable.
Or even worse, it can lead the other person to feel like maybe you're not genuinely reacting to the specifics of what they're sharing, like you're applying a generic label to everything.
Which doesn't feel great as the speaker.
Not at all. But using a variety of responses allows you to express the precise flavor of your reaction. Are you truly surprised? Are you delighted? Are you deeply curious? Are you simply acknowledging receipt of information? When you use a phrase that specifically matches that internal reaction you're having, you just sound significantly more lively, more natural, more authentic.
And what's the ripple effect of that authenticity? How does it actually change the conversation itself?
Well, the effect can be huge. Think about it. When the other person hears a response that feels specific and genuine, a real gasp of no way, or a thoughtful, curious, that's fascinating, or an enthusiastic, how cool is that? They feel truly heard. Validated, exactly. Heard and understood. It validates what they've shared. And what does that usually do?
Makes them want to share more.
Precisely. It encourages them to elaborate, share more details, become more invested in the conversation because they feel like they're actually connecting with you.
So it shifts the dynamic.
Totally. It shifts it from just a simple, maybe transactional exchange of information to a more profound connection between the speakers. You're not just receiving words, you're reacting authentically, emotionally, intellectually, and that invites them to share more of themselves, their experiences, their knowledge.
Builds rapport faster, maybe?
Definitely builds rapport, and it just makes the conversation feel more engaging, more alive. For both sides. Plus, for you, the speaker, using these phrases, it feels good too. You feel more expressive, less constrained by just one or two ways of reacting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, we've taken a pretty deep dive here into how moving beyond just that single phrase, that's interesting, and really utilizing a range of specific alternatives.
The toolkit.
The toolkit.
Yeah.
Like, no way. I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Oh, really? And how cool is that? How using these can dramatically enhance your conversational presence, your connection with people.
Yeah.
All based on these really practical insights we've explored.
And understanding these nuances, it really empowers you, doesn't it? It empowers you to choose the perfect linguistic tool to match the specific moment, the specific information being shared. It just makes your conversations potentially richer, more dynamic, more fun.
So the challenge is to actually use them.
Exactly. Try experimenting with these phrases. Maybe pick one or two to focus on this week in your own interactions. Really listen not just to the words someone says, but try to tune into the feeling the information evokes in you.
Like, what's my gut reaction here?
What's the gut reaction? And then consciously pick the phrase from this toolkit that best matches that feeling. See how it feels to say it, and, crucially, notice how the other person responds.
So the next time you're chatting, someone shares something that catches your ear. Just pause for maybe half a second before that default interesting jumps out.
Take a beat.
Yeah, take a beat. Ask yourself, okay, what specific reaction am I having right now? Am I genuinely shocked? Am I just learning something new and cool? Am I intrigued by the complexity here? Am I just acknowledging something noteworthy? Well, am I just really delighted by how awesome this is?
Pinpoint the feeling.
Pinpoint the feeling and then choose the phrase from our list that honestly reflects that feeling. Give it a try.
And this whole exploration, it kind of raises an important final thought for you to consider. As you move forward and maybe play with these phrases, it's a question, really. How does the simple act of being more precise, more nuanced, in expressing our reactions, maybe using just a few different words, how does that not only change how others perceive our interest, but how might it fundamentally alter the actual depth, the quality, the connection we build through conversation itself? Something to think about.
So if you found this helpful and want more tips for your daily English,
please subscribe or follow Daily Easy English Talk wherever you get your podcasts.
And maybe share with any friends who are also learning English.
Thanks so much for listening today.
Bye for now.